You've heard all the buzz about San Diego Comic-Con 2025, but what exactly should you expect from this year's panels, parties, activations, and exclusive merch haul? I've got your one-stop guide to San Diego Comic-Con 2025. Hey Q Crew, it's Juliet at Juliet and Beyond. The best way to help out the channel is by hitting the subscribe button right now, so won't you consider doing that? Today, we're digging back into talking about San Diego Comic-Con 2025 because let's face it, there's so much to know about this convention, and honestly, I could talk about this thing for hours, weeks. I'll probably be talking about it for the rest of the year. In this video, we're gonna focus a little more on the specifics as to what exactly is coming to the con this year. So even if you're not heading to the convention and you're kind of just curious for an overview of what to expect, maybe you want a little preview of what you're gonna read about in the news cycle, I've got you. Or if you're one of those attendees and need help prioritizing your own schedule, yeah, this is gonna probably help narrow down the wide range of possibilities, hopefully just a smidge. First up, we'll talk about panels. I'll cover the really major marquee panels for the event, and then we'll talk about some of the gems that I think you should consider that maybe are a little more off the beaten track. We'll dig into the exclusive merch items, so we'll talk about what are the pieces of merch that folks are really dying to get their hands on this year. And then, of course, we'll talk about those activations and after parties. I'm gonna highlight a couple that I'm really excited about for San Diego Comic-Con 2025. So as per usual, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it. Panels. Whoa, there is a jam-packed schedule this year. So what are the 2025 Comic-Con panels that are the real marquee parts of this event? What are the ones that have the biggest buzz? What are the ones that are generating all the press headlines? Kicking us off on Friday is the Predator Badlands panel. This is an absolutely legendary franchise, because you know that folks are gonna be hyped to get a seat to see this one. It's a pretty star-studded lineup too, and that always helps with the director there, Dan Trachtenberg, and also the star Elle Fanning. People are pretty excited about this movie because it finally includes a Predator as the protagonist, and the panel should be reasonably exciting because they've promised never before seen footage. My personal highlight for all of San Diego Comic-Con 2025 is the Tron Ares panel. I could not be more excited for this movie. This is one of my favorite franchises, and so fingers crossed that this panel will not disappoint. I honestly was kind of surprised that this one landed on the Friday slot instead of the Saturday marquee panel slot, but of course it will be in Hall H. Director, cast promised to be in attendance for this one, and yes, more never before seen footage. So this should be another hot ticket. On to Saturday. So this is the day that typically draws the biggest crowds of the convention, and by extension of that is usually the day where you're gonna see the single biggest panels at Hall H. This year feels a little bit different because typically there is a Marvel panel that anchors Saturday night, and that's nowhere to be found this year. So instead, the two big panels that folks are really looking forward to on Saturday, well, first up is Project Hail Mary. Interestingly, this film isn't getting released until 2026, but it helps to be starring one of the biggest actors in the world, which is Ryan Gosling. Honestly, this film, if you haven't watched the trailer already, go give it a watch because this film does look like it's gonna be incredible. The lineup for this one looks pretty great. It's got Drew Goddard, who is the screenwriter and executive producer on it, Ryan Gosling, and the director Christopher Miller. This should be a really good conversation, and of course, like all those other movie panels, should also include some sneak peeks of the film. Later in the day is the Peacemaker Season 2 panel. A man who's extremely popular right now, James Gunn, will be on the panel, and then of course most of the cast will be there as well too. There was a lot of love for this HBO Max show in Season 1. Season 2 should be no different, and expect this panel to be pretty popular. Anchoring down Saturday night is an evening with Kevin Smith. Frankly, I don't think the conversation with Kevin Smith, as big as he is gonna be enough to really keep butts in the seats, especially on Saturday night when a lot of other things are drawing your attention outside and away from the con. So if you're hoping to attend this one, it probably should be an easier seat to score than typical for a Saturday night panel. And now Sunday is where things get really interesting, because in a sort of unprecedented move for San Diego Comic-Con, I think the unquestionable single biggest panel of 2025 is happening on Sunday morning. And that's because a little guy called George Lucas is making his first ever appearance at the convention. I couldn't believe when I read that George Lucas had never been at SDCC before. It almost seems unfathomable to me. Now, if that wasn't a star-studded enough lineup for you, Guillermo del Toro is also gonna be on this panel along with Doug Chiang. So you're gonna get two legendary filmmakers sitting down and having a conversation. They're gonna be talking about narrative art in general and the power of what illustrative filmmaking and storytelling can do. But the real focus of the panel is the new Lucas Museum of Narrative Arts, which is opening up in Los Angeles. And this is a project that I've been following for a while that I've actually been disappointed. I feel like it hasn't gotten nearly enough coverage, so I'm happy that this panel is going to be generating some more interest in it. And if you're curious about it too, you want to learn more about it, I'm happy to make a whole separate video on it. So let me know in the comments below if you want to see that. Those 5 panels make up the marquee panels that are really going to anchor the whole convention, but there are plenty more that are worth your time and definitely worth your consideration. So let's get into some of the fandom favorites. Now let's dig into what I'm calling the fandom favorite panels. So these are panels that are really gonna resonate with a certain target audience, a certain fandom, but they're not gonna go as broad as the panels that we just talked about in the Big Five. First up in this category, starting out bright and early on Thursday morning, is Avatar: The Last Airbender 20-year anniversary panel. I feel so old knowing that the show is having its 20-year anniversary. Panels for this will include the original voice actors, the series composer, and really interestingly, I love this, it's gonna be moderated by the creators of the show. If you love Avatar: The Last Airbender, kind of a no-brainer, you gotta attend this one. Moving back over to Hall H, on Thursday morning at 11 a.m. is the Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 2 panel. This series debuted on Disney Plus last year, and there is a decent amount of excitement built up around Season 2. I know there are a lot of lovers of this franchise, particularly for folks who came up reading the books. Unsurprisingly, the panel for this one looks very much like the others we've talked about, so yes, you're gonna see the cast here, the executive producers, and it should be a good conversation about what to expect for Season 2. Moving on to Friday morning, Outlander fans are in for a real treat because there is a double header of panels in Hall H. First up, there'll be a retrospective panel called A Timeless Look Back at the Icon series and a first look at the final season. That tells you a lot about what to expect from this one. The panel will be moderated by Aisha Taylor and feature the stars of the show. But I'm really excited about the panel immediately following it, which is focused on Outlander Blood of Blood. So this is going to be a first look at the brand new series, and if you haven't heard much about it, this is set in the Outlander universe and it's following Claire and Jamie's parents. The panels include executive producers Harriet Slater, Jeremy Irvine, and Hermione Corfield. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this next panel because it is a real Comic-Con staple, but admittedly I also just love this show, so some of my own bias here. But the Bob's Burger panel this year will be held in Ballroom 20 on Saturday. And these panels are just always so fun to attend because the cast is just as hilarious as you would imagine. For 2025, they'll specifically be highlighting and talking about the 300th episode, which is a milestone that's upcoming for the show. The entire cast is there, they do all the voiceover impressions, and they're honestly just so funny. So this is a great one to add onto your schedule. And is it even a Comic-Con if we don't talk about Star Trek? So admittedly, my brother is the Trekkie in the family, but I know just how big this fandom is. The Star Trek Universe panel will be held on Saturday afternoon in Hall H. This panel is interesting because not only are they going to be talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, they're also going to be highlighting and discussing the upcoming show Star Trek Starfleet Academy in this one. So they'll have cast and crew and producers from both of these shows on the panel, which should be, it's pretty jam-packed. If you're in the Trekkie fam, this panel will probably be a hit for you. If not, it'll probably be a skip. I'll probably dip out for this one. Now, while we're just starting to scratch the surface of the hundreds and hundreds of San Diego Comic-Con panels, before we move on, I wanna make sure we talk a little bit about some of the more under the radar panels that I think are actually sneakily gonna be highlights for San Diego Comic-Con 2025. So let's get into what I'm calling Juliet's Gems. For every other section, I have managed to narrow down the list to just 5 particular panels, but indulge me a little bit on this one. For Juliet's Gems, I've got 6 panels that, while they're not necessarily going to generate headlines, I think that they are definitely going to be really special moments in Comic-Con 2025. And truthfully for me, I often prefer the smaller panels to the big ones because you're in this really intimate room and you get this very special, unique experience. Now, if you're somebody who's watching this video and you're not actually planning on attending San Diego Comic-Con, know that these are the type of panels you're not going to see a ton of coverage about, so it's going to be harder to kind of get the experience of what it was like to be in the room. You know, make your plans and come to Comic-Con next year if you want to catch these type of panels. First up in Juliet's Gems is the Art of Shag panel. If you don't know who Shag is, he's an absolutely legendary artist, and he really blends the best of mid-century modern and tiki with some of the biggest fandoms in the world. And honestly, if you've been to Disneyland or Disney World, you've probably seen his art and not even realized it before. I'm a big fan. I have one of his books on my coffee table in my house. His artwork I think is phenomenal. And this panel should be blessed. It's going to be a retrospective on his work. Those don't happen that often. I'm really looking forward to this one. The next Juliet's Gems pick is the 501st Villainous Costuming panel. If you don't know who the 501st is, they are an incredible group of cosplayers with legions across the country, and honestly, the work is so good. It's screen-accurate representations of Star Wars costumes. So we are talking about work so good that Lucasfilm will contact these guys when it comes to things like Stormtrooper builds, borrowing droids. They've actually loaned stuff to Lucasfilm to appear in Star Wars TV shows and films. It's incredible. They'll be detailing their process of how they make some of those builds in this panel. It's always a great conversation. The next panel, okay, I'm definitely outing myself on the age here by being excited about this one, but I don't care, okay? The 30-year anniversary of Xena, Warrior Princess. If you remember that television show, yeah, this is happening on Sunday at Comic-Con. I could not be more excited for this. I just cannot wait. I was obsessed with this show when I was little. So they're getting the cast and the crew back together for a conversation about this show. And they're calling it a fan appreciation panel, which I think is really nice after 30 years to see that this show still has a dedicated, loyal fan base. Pretty cool. I gotta start working my chakra. I had to include one for the comic book lovers. So yes, there is still comics in Comic-Con. The DC Comics panel, which is happening on Saturday afternoon, promises to be a great one. The panel's called Metropolis and Beyond. It's a little bit vague on the description, but it promises to include a legion of celebrated DC comic book creators. So it seems like the lineup for this one's gonna be pretty solid. And it's also moderated by DC Group editor, Paul Kavinsky. They're gonna be, of course, discussing Superman, DC Comics, and more. This one looks to be one of the, I think, best conversations for comic book fans of the weekend. Also happening on Sunday, which while it is traditionally the sleepier day, has just so many great panels this year. I just love seeing that. Is the 30-year Disney Villains retrospective from Andreas Deja. Andreas is one of the legendary Disney animators, and these conversations that are career retrospectives, they're just always so intimate. You end up learning so much about an individual and the impact that they had on films, and they also end up sneakily having some fantastic guests. We already know that Jim Cummings, who you'll know, of course, the voice of Winnie the Pooh, is gonna be on this panel. Chris Sanders from Lilo and Stitch and The Wild Robot. I think this is sneakily gonna be one of the most exciting panels of the year. Last up in Juliets Gems is An Afternoon with George Takei, which I think the title of the panel honestly kind of tells it all. George Takei, just such a beloved figure in the sci-fi community, but also a great human being. It's one of those panels, I promise you, you're gonna leave the room and you're gonna feel happy that you were in that space. He's gonna be talking about not only his life, of course, his work in Star Trek, but he'll also be talking about his new memoir. And again, another one, I think this is just gonna be a feel-good panel that I'm really looking forward to. Next up, let's talk chase items and exclusives. So these are things that folks are already building their shopping list around and are gonna be some of the most coveted items at the convention. Like the panels, I'm definitely not gonna be able to cover absolutely everything, but I wanted to give you a taste of some of the real exciting merch items that are gonna be rolled out at SDCC 2025 and show you some of the ones that are my favorites. Popular every single year is the Funko booth, and this is one of the booths that you'll need to have a pre-registered time slot for if you wanna get there with really any chance of getting your hands on the exclusives. Hopefully you've already signed up for the portal. And if you need an explanation on how to do that, go see my other SDCC video. What I wanted to highlight at this booth, three of the pops that I think are just so cool. That's the Batman, Robin, and Penguin pops. What's really neat about these in particular is that they're actually in the clamshell style packaging, which is what you would have seen if you went back to SDCC in like 2010 and picked up a Funko Pop. These three are all show exclusives. They're so adorable. Of course, plenty of other exclusives at this booth too. The Sanrio pops are looking adorable. And look at this Barbie and the Rockers pop. I love this one. Heading over to the Loungefly booth, what's nice about this, there's no pre-registered time slots for this booth, so all you need to get your hands on these exclusives is to arrive to the show floor relatively early. Some really fantastic pieces for One Piece fans. I think that these are just gonna sell like gangbusters. Also some great Lilo and Stitch releases, but the thing that I think is gonna just create an absolute frenzy is the Fantastic Four First Steps backpack. It's modeled perfectly in the style of the movie, of course, got that nice mid-century modern kind of design aesthetic. Only 1,200 of these pieces are released. I think this one's gonna be tough to get. Over at the Hasbro booth, another booth which isn't part of the exclusives portal, which is good, it's good news because it means you probably have a better chance of getting your hands on these. We have to talk about the Black Series Star Wars set featuring Anakin and Obi-Wan. This is definitely on the pricier side. It's gonna run you 110 bucks, but I mean, this thing is absolutely incredible. I need a lava pit in my room to display it. Also some really great Marvel pieces with the Savage Land collection here. This is a 3-pack and I love the character styling on Rogue in this. Back to booths that are causing an absolute frenzy at SDCC this year is the Pop Mart booth. So this is another one that you needed to get a lottery time slot for in the SDCC portal. I just want to take a second though to let you know, if you are hoping to get into these booths later in the day, it's very likely that they're going to open up to general admission once all the time slots go through. That means the rare items will definitely, well, certainly be sold out at that point, but you will get a chance to at least peruse what else is in the booth. Two exclusives at the booth this year. The Deku Fountain is definitely my favorite of the two. This thing is just adorable. But there's also a handful of global debuts happening at the booth as well. I think these Star Wars bobbleheads, these are also going to be really popular. In the land of McFarlane toys, honestly, so many great first to market releases at this con. It's honestly too many to talk about and they're all stunning. But the thing that really caught my eye was the Spawn number 365 release. It features never before seen ink overs of the original pencils from Spawn 150, created nearly 20 years ago. I think that these are just drop dead gorgeous. I think any collector would love to have these in their hands. Also doing work this year, Fig Pin. So while they weren't part of the exclusives portal, they have mentioned they're doing a physical ticket system, which means that you're gonna need to go walk up to the booth, get yourself a ticket in order to help with crowd management. A ton of great releases. The things that really caught my eye, the Star Wars release, this Rancor pin I think is just phenomenal. Love the Jedi Knight Revan pin. And then the Han Solo Quest pin set is, yeah, this is a great collector's piece. Another one of the hottest destinations on the show floor year after year, the Mattel booth. Shouldn't be any different for this year. This is another booth that was part of the exclusives portal. Hopefully you already got your lottery time slot through. Exclusives to look forward to this year, the Little People Collector Deadpool set. This one is just hilarious. Some love for Back to the Future because it's the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future this year, so this great Hot Wheels set. And another fantastic collector's piece here, the Jurassic World T-Rex Convention Center Crasher set. I think that this is such a great piece for Jurassic fans. All the things that you just saw here, you may be tempted to call them impulse buys. Definitely way more than that because these are items that you're gonna need a solid strategy and plan around if you're planning to add to your collection for this year, and they will resell for a pretty price, I promise you that. Now, in addition to picking up your swag on the show floor, another fun thing to do is to eye which panels are giving away free goodies, and there are some real winners this year. Inside the World of Tamagotchi, we'll be giving away an exclusive comic book and a Tamagotchi trading card. The Funko Welcome to Thunderdome panel will be doing giveaways and also possibly lottery codes for exclusives. The One Piece panel will be giving away a souvenir Dr. Vega punk crown to everyone who attends. And my favorite, of course, the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge panel, What's New on Batuu, will be giving a free 11x17 con exclusive art print. If you need a break from the exhibit hall, the panels, and the grind of picking up your exclusive merch, don't worry, there's plenty to do around the con with offsite activations. All of these offsite activations I'm going to talk about don't actually require a con badge, so anyone can enjoy them. Some of them do require some pre-registration, and most of them also will involve standing in a somewhat lengthy line. But these 5 seem like they are going to be worth the wait. Peacock is taking some inspiration from the Twisted Metal show, and they are making a full-on bumper car derby. I'm going to list the address for this one here on the screen for you. It's happening on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And so they're going to take some of the most iconic vehicles for the show, reimagine them into bumper cars, and who doesn't love driving around and smashing a bumper car into another, you know? It's going to be pretty safe rubber on rubber, but the idea of this, I think this is just one of the most fun concepts for SDCC activations. Free, open to the public, and no badge required. Calling Doctor Who fans, are you ready to sign up for a Doctor Who themed mission? So this one's pretty neat. It's happening the entire weekend, Thursday through Sunday, and you'll be able to actually uncover secrets and artifacts throughout the Whoniverse, and eventually earn yourself a level 1 clearance, which means you're going to get access to the Black Archive. There you're going to be able to check out iconic props from the show. You'll be able to see some of the classic monsters from the show on display too. I love a good immersive experience, and this is another one that's completely free to do. Another one of the highlights for me, the Sonic and K1 Speedway experience. All right, what more classically Sonic, what more perfect for Sonic than racing? So Sega's gonna have completely transformed K1 into a Sonic themed raceway. And so we're talking about blue tracks, a Sega arcade, a live DJ, there'll be themed food there'll be giveaways, it'll be open all weekend. This event just seems perfect for families. One of the hottest tickets of the weekend when it comes to activations is most certainly Peacefest. This is all in honor of Peacemaker Season 2, and what's amazing about this one is they are really embracing and leading into the 80s glam rock aesthetic, so you know it's gonna be a real party. This is gonna be held Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Nova SD Club. Again, a club, you know this is gonna be some real actual energy. They'll feature live music, themed games, there'll be plenty of giveaways, and there's also gonna be a merch shop on site for this one, which will give you another chance to get some really unique items. Last on the activations list for this year, a returning favorite, the Adult Swim on the Green. This is the Pirate Purdy on the Green this year. Thursday through Saturday, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. The really nice thing about this is always super easy and convenient to get to from the convention. So if you just need a break, you want something to check out, something different, easy to get to without taking too much time out of your schedule. Really great giveaways, especially if you're one of the 750 first attendees of the day. You'll be getting a Smiling Friends vinyl figurine then if you're in that group, but lots of other goodies sprinkled throughout the day too. Think mini games, a little more low key for this activation. Pirates and cats, I mean, the theming, it just makes sense if you think about it. Well, the activations are fun, San Diego Comic-Con really gets started after dark, and there are a ton of parties going on, and don't worry, you don't need to be on some super exclusive guest list to get into, well, most of them. Setting the tone for the weekend is Ready Party 1. This happens on Wednesday night over at the Park nightclub. It'll get you nice and tired, right, as the convention's about to start. This is a Comic-Con staple, you know, it's everything that you'd expect. You've got a live DJ there, they've got some themed photo op experiences, and they encourage cosplay too, which is really one of the fun things. Where else can you be in a nightclub and be surrounded by folks in full cosplay gear? It really makes the event. This is one of the events you just RSVP, buy your tickets for, and then wait in line to get in for the night. In the not so easy events to gain access into, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the Fandom party, which is held on Thursday night at the Hard Rock Hotel. This is absolutely one of the most coveted events to get into for the weekend, and there is a raffle that happens every year, which allows fans a chance to get in. If you're lucky enough to get into the event, you're gonna be treated to something really special. This year, the All-American Rejects is actually headlining the Thursday night party. Can you believe that? There's swag. It is definitely a party, and Fandom knows how to do it right. If you're in for the taste of the quieter life, Thursday night you can pick Nerd Night at SDCC, which is TED Talk meets trivia. This is held 6:30 to 9:30 p.m., so it'll get you in bed nice and early if you get an early wake-up call for the con on Friday. Fandom comedy, cocktails, nice community. This is definitely much more low-key than the other events I've been talking about. Doors open at 6, arrive early, and make sure you pick up a ticket in advance for this one. All right, turning up the volume to an 11. Definitely not quiet. On Friday night is Mosh Isley. If you don't know what Mosh Isley is, it's a fantastic event. A couple of my friends are actually organizers for this event. It's a very cool concept of Star Wars meets punk meets emo, and they mash them together for a party that you can't really experience anywhere else. This year's is going to be held at the Music Box at San Diego. It is always sweaty, fun, tons of dancing, great live show on the stage, lots of Star Wars fun. It's like a cantina set in 2025. Make sure you pick up your tickets in advance to save yourself some hassle. On Saturday night, Comic Tron comes to the Music Box. As you already know, at this point in the video, huge Tron fans, so the idea of dancing to a Daft Punk inspired tribute band, the band's called One More Time, in a Tron-like glowing rave, yes, I'm sold. I've always wanted to dance at the end of the line, so this one sounds like a blast. Doors for this one open at 8 p.m. and the party starts at 9. Well, Q Crew, now we've talked parties, panels, exclusive merch. That is your complete guide to San Diego Comic-Con 2025. I will be in San Diego for the entire weekend. If you run into me there, please come up and say hello. I would love to chat with you. But don't worry, if you're not going, I will be covering everything San Diego Comic-Con. It'll feel like you're there, as long as you're subscribed. I'll be back here with a new video for you next week, loaded with tips for your fandom experiences and theme park adventures. I'll see you then, and remember, fandom is for any age.